Hey everyone, Kermode here, back with another video. I just did a video the other day on another plugin by Zynaptiq called Pitch Map, so I wanted to take a look at another plugin they've done called Morph. Morph is a really cool plugin, and the name says it all. This plugin is all about morphing between two different sounds. So with Morph off, I've got two different channels of audio. First, I want to take a look at this set of loops here. So we have a drum loop, and below it we have a synthetic ARP. Now in this example, what I want to do is I want to put Morph on the ARP and use the drum loop as the source for what it's morphing into. So it's really easy to set up. We have Morph down here. I'm going to turn it on, and you can see I've selected the sidechain input from the track above it. Now opening up Morph, before I explain anything, let me just show you how this plugin sounds when morphing between two sounds. So again, we have the ARP, we have the drums, and let me just play around in the plugin and show you what it sounds like. So in the middle, the first thing I was playing with was this morphing crossfade section here. How it works is you have signal A in the two corners, in this case being the ARP, and we have signal B in the two corners, this case being the drums. Now as we move vertically between A and B, we're going to be morphing between them. Moving horizontally, we're just going to be doing a basic volume fade between them. So then going somewhere in the middle of this XY grid, we'll combine the two different styles of morphing for interesting sonic combinations. So you can even just sit in the middle here and get a blend of everything. So moving around the plugin, in the left here you have a preset section where you can save your presets. Below that you have an algorithm section which will react differently to the incoming signals. Classic is always a good place to start, and then I would just recommend testing out the different types depending on the signals. For example, tight is good for percussive sounds, so because we're using a drum loop, it might sound more favorable in this context. Yeah, I like how that kind of preserved a bit more of the transient. So play around with the algorithm depending on the context you're using it. Now in the processing section here, this is where we can kind of change how everything is playing and reacting in its tone. So in the middle you have a formant slider, so you can create higher formant versions of these two signals, or lower formants. You have a complexity slider. The less complex, the less detailed the morphing will be. In this situation, I'm enjoying it more with the complexity up. And the amp sensitivity will kind of change what it's doing depending on the algorithm, but it is reacting to the amplitude of the two signals and how those amplitudes are being represented in the final output. Playing with this slider helps with the dynamics of the output signal, and I like to just play around with it and see what sounds good depending on the source. Then lastly, on the right, there's only two more sections. You have a volume section where you can just turn up the final output. You can also set the balance separately of the two different source signals. And then below that, there's actually a built-in reverb, which can be really nice on certain sounds if you want to just add a little bit more character to it. Now let's move over to another loop just so I can show you how interesting this is. So up top here we have this pop guitar sound. And then below we have that same ARP sound. Now let me play around with morph and see how these two can morph between each other. So this is really cool for creating really interesting instrument hybrids. You can get really creative with how things combine and what sort of tones come out of it. And you can also start to think about how this could be a really interesting tool to actually transition to different sections of songs. So you could actually have, one element kind of blend into another element. Or if you're creating custom edits for performances, you could even, if you really wanted to pre-make something, you could even like morph a transition from one song to another and create some sort of cool edit that actually morphs between two songs. So you can see even between two different types of melodic or harmonic content, there could be a really neat way of blending it. And then lastly, I just want to give you another example. Here I have a bass sound, which I want to morph with this vocal. So let's see what that would sound like. Wow, notice how much just the algorithm change between classic and interweave changed the tone of that. Crazy. So you kind of get almost these vocoder-esque types of combinations depending on the settings, but based off what's actually going on, you get a more complex and accurate combination and morph between these two different sounds. That's really it, because there isn't that much else to the plugin. It's that easy to use. I want to give a big thank you to Zynaptiq for giving me a license to play with this plugin. I really like it. I recommend it for everyone. That's why I wanted to make a video on it. And I hope everyone out there just has fun morphing between sounds and creating really new sonic textures. So I'll leave a link down below to Morph. If you haven't seen my video on pitch map, I recommend going and checking that out. And if you guys just want a couple of cool new sound design tools, I'd really recommend them. They're awesome. So thanks everyone. My name's Kermode. That's another video, and I'll be back soon with another one.